Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's the day. Today is Pipe Dream Day in the way that it's just before 9 in the morning on Saturday. It is 9 degrees outside and I have planned to do everything in one day, but it's not gonna happen. So today's goals, I'm going to go to the hardware store and get all of the wood I need for one bench. I was originally going to get enough wood for 2 benches because I also have to rent a truck, and I wanted to make use of the truck since it's $19 for 90 minutes or 75 minutes, something like that. And I wanted to make the most out of it, but I can't afford 2 benches worth of wood right now, so we're gonna start with one, and then so what we have to do is I grab my empty propane tank because we have to fill up propane for the patio heater that I'm going to run in the garage to stay warm. And then I still have to hang the lights. I was going to get really fancy with the light hanging and make a separate video out of that, but given the amount of time I've already invested in starting this project, I'm just gonna get the lights up so I can have some light in there and see, and we can revisit that at a later date. So we're gonna get the lights up. Then last minute decision was to build a workbench for myself, to actually build these workbenches, like workbenchception. I don't really have a level ground or a level floor in the garage, and it's all cracked on the ground, so I want to build like a workspace that's mounted to the wall that's level, so that when I'm building these benches, they're not completely off kilter. So once we get everything done with the hardware store, we're going to get some propane on the way back, and then we're going to mount the lights, and then we're going to start building my workbench to build the other workbenches, and we'll go from there. So it's a long list of things to work on today, and we'll see how far we get. I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but I'm actually really living up to the name of my channel, Unfinished Plans, because I've been preparing for today, picking out the wood and everything else and the plans for everything. I've been preparing for today for several days now, and I woke up this morning, and well, I gotta say, I even went to bed last night a little excited. I'm like, tomorrow's a big day, I'm gonna do all this stuff. And I woke up this morning and the first thought in my mind was, crap, that's a long day and it's a lot of work. And I was like, I don't want to do this right now, but I have no choice. So my channel name is more and more true every day with Unfinished Plans, because I make all these plans and then I don't. My initial reaction is to not follow through on them, but I think this channel has helped keeping me motivated, because I know that I need to get these things done and I need to try to make some money. So wish me luck, and we'll see if I can get any footage in the hardware store, low key, but filming in public is going to make me a little nervous. So we'll see how far we get. I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. Bye. Well guys, this is my first voiceover. I decided to do a little bit of this for this video because there's a lot of dead space in the video, and I figured I could use some explanation. So here I'm trying to find the right screws. The tutorial that I'm trying to follow to build this bench, the guy specified the exact screws, some general construction screws, and I was having trouble finding the exact screws that he had used. The right size was a number 8, 2.5 inch, so I ended up with number 9, 2.5 inch. I think they'll do fine. Here I was originally going to buy a 4-pack of clamps to hold wood while I screw it in, but this was $35 for the 4-pack and I couldn't quite afford it, so I ended up going with a single clamp. I figure I'll just have to do one board at a time, but I was really trying to save every penny I could for this build. This was my first time picking out 2x4s in years. I can't actually remember the last project where I had to go through and pick out 2x4s. So I started on this pile. I was trying to find the straightest boards I could, and I was having a difficult time. I ended up, throwing away 5 boards for every one I kept, and I needed at least 18 of these boards. Eventually, a guy comes up and says that, he's going to ask the clerk to lower one of the upper bundles there, because he knew that the pile I was going through had already been picked through pretty good. So once we got the bundle above brought down, I actually didn't keep any of the original 2x4s that I had picked out, because they were pretty rough compared to some of the good ones I picked out of the second bundle. Alright, perhaps my plans for the day were a little ambitious, but I just spent 2 hours in the store getting the supplies I needed. There's going to be more to that story about how difficult it is to pick 2x4s that aren't bent, and how much work it is to load up that much wood. I just got in the rental truck. I'm going to head home. And then I think I'm just going to lay down and stop moving for a while, because that was a lot of work. And I haven't even stepped foot in the garage yet. So I'll see you in a little bit. Alright guys, just going to give you a little bit of an update. I'm finally home. The truck is back at the store. Unloaded all the wood in the garage. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. All I know is that picking out straight boards at the store and digging through a pile of crooked and warped boards is a lot harder than I anticipated. When I first started looking through, there was a lot of bad wood in there, and I needed to get roughly 18 boards for the work I want to do this weekend, and I had reached about 4 or 5 boards, and I tossed dozens of them. The pile was looking a little thin, and then another gentleman asked the guys there to bring down a fresh pallet, and I ended up actually not keeping any of the original boards that I had picked out because the fresh pallet was a lot easier to work with. There were a lot of better boards there. Um, but it actually kind of made me realize something about fears I had about this project. If I'm going to be able to sell a completed workbench for a profit, and that is, yeah, I'm spending roughly about $100 in hardware between the wood and the screws and everything. That's zero time. That's not even really counting the truck rental. I'm about $100 in material between the 2x4s, the screws, and the plywood. So I know when I listed, originally I was thinking I would try to list it for 200 and see if I could get that. Um, and with anything I've ever sold online, I have the constant fear that I'm going to ask too much or that I don't know the value of something. Um, and I figured that if I post something for this bench for $200 or so, that I'm going to get a lot of that's outrageous. That's outrageous. How much could it cost to build one of those things? And after the experience I had today, the over 2 hours at the hardware store, waiting for them to lower the pallet down and going through all the boards and trying to find good wood and having them cut the 4x8 sheet of plywood and lifting the 4x8 sheet of plywood and lifting all the boards and all of the energy that I put into picking out the supplies needed just before I even build the thing. If anyone wants to give me any attitude when I go to sell this thing for a price that I want to ask for it, I have no problem saying, you know what, go ahead then. If you want to build it, if you want to take the time, if you want to drive to the store and you want to sit there and pick through 800 pieces of wood to find straight boards, if you want to lift a 4x8 sheet of plywood by yourself out of the cart and then drag it over and have somebody cut it while you wait for somebody to become available to cut it, you want to load it up into a truck and drive it home and then spend the time to build it, go ahead. I'm going to ask at least 200. I'm thinking 220, 250, and let somebody try to lowball me, but correct, it's $100 worth of wood. But the energy and the time that I'm putting into a project that somebody else would have to put into the project is worth more than the wood. What's the saying? The sum of the parts is more than the whole, or something. I have no idea, but I'm going to get started on the project that I've been teasing ever since I started this channel, which is the lights. And I really was going to try to do like this intricate, perfectly measured out spacing of the lights and everything. That's going to be a project for another day, because now I'm invested. I spent a couple $100 today on wood and parts and this and that. I need to build this bench and I need to post it for sale. So I'm going to hang some lights and try not to freeze in the process. Today is Operation Don't Fall Asleep, because I'm going to be running a propane heater in the garage. But fortunately, there's so many. This garage is not weather sealed at all. So if you never see this video, then something went wrong. But my guess is I'll be fine. So I'm going to start with setting up the heater. It's a patio heater. I'm running it inside, and then I'm going to hang some lights rather poorly. And then I'm going to start on building my workbench so that I can assemble other workbenches on my workbench. So I'm going to be wearing the GoPro on a head strap and see how that works out, if you guys can tolerate that. I'll stop here and there to film anything, but I think I might do voiceover work on the progress I'm making so that I don't have to keep stopping. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. So I'm going to talk about this in a second, but I ended up not feeling well after being in the garage for a couple of hours with this going. I really thought that there was enough, air leakage in the building to prevent any sort of carbon monoxide buildup, but I went into a coughing fit after a few hours and kind of panicked and opened the door, and I think if I'm going to run that patio heater again, which is kind of questionable at this point, I would do the garage door open. I'm not sure if the patio heater was the cause of the coughing fit, but it scared me enough to kind of end the day after I couldn't catch my breath in there. So Word of the wise, you know, if you're going to do something that's stupid, make sure that you're more ventilated than you think you need to be, and probably don't run one of these in a garage. But it was very cold out, and I wanted to make some progress, so I made that choice. What I'm doing here, obviously, is just screwing in the hooks for the hangers for the lights. Start them by hand, and then I've got to use a screwdriver or pliers to finish them the rest of the way in. So I end up hanging a total of 3 lights in the garage. The box came with 4, but after the second light I really didn't see the need to even have the third, but it was an easy setup for the third. So wrapped those up and moved on to the first wood cutting of the series. So yeah, I have to say that the lights themselves are made of entirely of plastic, and they feel really fragile. I was very delicate while working with them, but you know, for the price, it really can't be beat. And as long as you're careful when you're installing them, you shouldn't have any issues. Alright, first light's in, so let's see how bright it is. That's pretty good. I like that. That's enough to do. I don't even know if I need a second light right now. I'm going to put one in, I think, just to have it, but that's pretty legit. Here I'm just preparing to install the second light of the 3. I figured I'd take a moment and thank anyone who's actually watched this far into the video or skipped ahead and managed to land here. You know, I'm still new to YouTube, and the one thing that kind of caught my attention was that every single YouTuber I watch always says please like, subscribe, and click the alert button. I've always subscribed to every user that I've been interested in, regardless if they tell me to or not. So I haven't really been saying, you know, please subscribe. It really helps the channel, but I've been stuck at 5 subscribers for a couple weeks now, and I think it's just a matter of time, and if I keep putting in the effort and adding new videos. But maybe it wouldn't hurt for me to say, please click the subscribe button. See if we can get above 5. I'd offer some sort of reward for the 6th subscriber, but I don't have much to give away, so just go ahead and do that then. Okay, guys? Thanks. I was trying to run the patio heater relatively low because I read that it'll last about 10 hours on a single tank of propane, and each tank of propane is $20. So I was trying to run it as low as I could and get a little warmth in the garage, but it died out here because I had it too low. If I ran it any higher, I think I might have had an issue breathing a little bit earlier than I did. So just trying to adjust it here and keep it a little warm, but not burn through that tank that quickly. So and here I'm about to connect the second light to the first one. These lights are able to be daisy chained up to 6, so if I ever get another box in the future, I can kind of expand them one after the other up to 6 on each side, so kind of saves on outlet usage in the garage. In here I'm just getting the last light up. I was ready to start working with some wood and making some progress on my workbench for my workbenches. You know, it's kind of like one of those things where you have enough light but you want more light. You bought the lights, can't have enough light. It helps with the video, it helps with you know, checking measurements and everything, so figured I'd throw one last one up real quick. Alright, I got 3 lights up. It's pretty good in here. It's pretty bright. It's bright enough to build something. So no more excuses. I actually have to like use a power tool now. So I guess I'm going to take a quick break and then we'll fire up some tools or something. And here it is. After weeks of teasing it on this channel, I actually finally take a pencil to some wood and prepare to build something. This is actually the plan I had for building my workbench, my level workbench that I'm planning on building the workbenches for sale on. So this was the first measuring, the first preparing to cut anything after weeks of cleaning out the garage and teasing it on YouTube videos and mentally preparing for it. I'm finally ready to go ahead and mess it all up. The plan here with the 1x2 piece is to kind of make a border around the plywood to add some strength around the hinges that are going to bolt to the wall, as well as the hinges that'll be used for the legs. I wanted to create the border out of the strip and then use some glue and some screws to kind of reinforce what'll ultimately end up being the top of my workbench. And actually right there I found the cap to my GoPro that had somehow ended up on the ground. I thought it was a piece of garbage at first and then said, wait a minute, I need that. So grabbed that and put that somewhere else I can lose it. And for some reason I thought I would just double check to make sure that that is 4 feet, even though it's an 8-foot piece of 1x2 and the 4x8 sheet of plywood was cut in half. For some reason I felt like I needed to measure it. So here it is, the moment we've all been waiting for, getting ready to make the first cut of this entire channel. Gonna go ahead and mark center, and I really wanted to be able to have you know, a miter saw for this, because cutting such small pieces of wood with a circular saw is, you know, to an extent guessing and good aim, but didn't have a miter saw for this cut and figured I'd give it a shot. So let's see how it turns out. Now I don't know if you can tell or if you could see it in this video, but the cut's off about 1/8 of an inch from the line, and I needed to cut this board directly in half, so one board is a little too long and the other board is a little too short, and here's me trying to figure out exactly how that happened. I haven't really used this saw much. I think I've used it once before and it wasn't on an exact measurement piece, so here I am just staring at this trying to figure out why I messed that cut up. I'm looking at the line on the guide and I'm looking at the blade, and the blade looks off center and I can't quite figure it out. Ultimately I ended up kind of rage quitting before I figured out why this blade was offset, and I went into a coughing fit short after this. Turns out I had the blade installed incorrectly on this. Alright, my first cut, and it is off by 1/8 of an inch. So I followed the guides on the saw, and yet it's still off. So it looks like the blade's off center or something. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take apart the saw and figure out why the guide doesn't line up with the cut. So this board is now too long and the other half of it is too short for the trim piece I was gonna put on. So starting off wrong. Great.